Imagine this. If you finally found the perfect dog from overseas. You're filled with excitement and you eagerly await their arrival. Suddenly, your heart sinks. And as you realize, because your beloved dog is stuck at customs, caught in a complex regulation and tape. Now, picture this anxiety coursing through you as you discover that your dream of bringing your furry friend home is at risk, all because you are unaware of the intricacies, guidelines, and restriction set forth by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The fear is palpable, isn't it? But fear not, for today we're here to illuminate the path forward. Hi, my name is Sumaya Jabril. Today I am here to arm you with the tools and knowledge for a confident journey with your furry companion. And we're going to go over how to import your dog, what is required, what are the high risk countries, if permit is needed, and what's required for that. Let's start. So, why import dogs? First, because we love dogs, they bring us immense joy, and but all not all dogs are from the United States, and a lot of individuals, breeders, or owners want to bring good dogs from another country worldwide. And then when we bring different breeds of dog to the United States, it enhances the genetic pool. So, like, think of owning a breed from like an English bulldog or a German Shepherd from Germany. I think that's pretty cool. So, but the CDC, because of high risk countries for rabies, the CDC has implemented a suspension from importing from those certain countries. But there is exceptions, and that is the location of where the rabies was administered, the number of dogs imported. So with this high risk suspension that's happening, there's only 2 dogs that you could import. And the example of high risk countries are Afghanistan, Gambia, and Saudi Arabia. And these are just a few from a list of countries that are restricted. For those who showed up today, they'll be given the how to import your dog handbook link. So you will have a comprehensive list of state by state requirement, list of all the high risk countries, and what you need in detail about your permits to bring your furry friend home. So there are health and age requirements for high risk countries. So they have to appear healthy, and the dog has to be at least 6 months. So when you're like, what does it mean they have to appear healthy? No spots, no marks to show that this dog could be sick. And it would be at the discretion of the officer to check. It would be like if they suspect that the dog is not healthy, then you're gonna have to you have to inspect the dog by a vet at the port, and it will be at your own expense. Just to prevent that, make sure you give them that administer a booster dose before you travel to avoid all of that, and make sure that their vaccination certificate is up to date, just like your passport. The government will not accept an expired documentation, vaccine certificate. The vaccination requirement, the initial one is 4 weeks before you travel. Puppies, they're not required to be vaccinated before they're 3 months old. But adult dogs, after 3 months, 3 to 6 months, they're considered an adult dog, and they do need to get vaccinated. And you need to show history that after 3 months to the current age, that they are vaccinated. So adult dog is 15 months plus. And then for commercial purposes, let's say you want to bring your dog here for commercial purposes, and you want to sell them, or you breed them, or you would get them here for adoption. There are certain requirements that you need to meet. The dog needs to be less than 6 months old when they're in the United States. You need a certificate that says this pet is healthy, they don't have any parasites. and the vaccination has to be applied 30 days and before their entry. And if the and then there will be additional vaccinations that is required. It's called DHLPP in 12 months of entry. So you'd have to do that when they get here. And documentation would be English, health, and so the documentation needs to be in English, and the rabies certificate for the Animal Plant Health Inspection Services, AVIS 7401, is preferred. And you need to include the dog's information, basically date of birth, vaccination, licenses of the vet when it was done. And you will be required to have a permit, again, from the Animal Plant Health Inspection Services, APHIS. You need to get granted a permit from them to be able to import a dog to the United States. Yes, the permit requirements, like I said, 2 dogs per trip allowed, with exceptions if, for specific purposes, if it's less than 6 months old, the dogs, they have microchips, they're vaccinated, and they have a record and a serologic titer, then the APHIS and the CDC can make exceptions so that you could bring more than 2 dogs with that specific permit. There's a state-specific regulations. Each state is different. State like Hawaii, they want you to have more tests, more than like the federal government requires you to do. They might even ask you to quarantine and do blood tests for the dog. And then for Virginia, where I currently reside, you need the certificate of veterinary inspection, CVI, and especially if the dog is imported for sale, adoption, breeding, or any commercial purposes. And then in Virginia, the dog has to be over 4 months old, and they have to have rabies vaccination. So yes, you have to comply with the federal government, but at the same time, you also have to comply with your state. So before you do embark on bringing dogs from overseas, you have to check that you comply with the government, federal government, and the state. And the handbook that I'll be giving away today for those who attended will have all those lists, like all 50 states, what they require, and what you need to bring with you when you're traveling to the United States. Permit and shipping information, live animals, they would need VS 129, and you would need to provide your detail, imported detail, the individual or the company who's importing it, the animal description, and why you're importing it. If it's for sale, then you say, I'm here to sell it. It's for a business. If it's for adoption, you let them know. And they have to have appropriate crates, including ID tags, leash, food, and contact information with that dog. And dog food supplies and customs bonds. So the pet food is approved by Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. So whatever food you're going to bring, you need to get approval from them first. And then usually with toys and supplies, they don't really have much regulation, but they do need safety testing. And if the dog that you're bringing is more than $2,500, then you need to get a bond for them. That's to guarantee that you'll pay duties and fees that comes when the dog is imported. There's single entry bond and there's continuous bond. Single entry is like a one-time bond where you're saying, I'm only bringing this dog, this shipment, one time. I only need that bond, and that's it. Continuous it's valid for a year, and you could use that bond without reapplying, and you could import multiple times. So there are health certifications. One is the screw worm, and for the hand and foot mouth disease. There are countries in the screw worm areas that you need to be qualified to bring from them. So you need to get a certification for that. A special permit is required for unvaccinated dogs. And if you bring these dogs from a screw worm country or foot and mouth disease, they might have to be quarantined. But in the handbook, it will provide you the list of those countries. What else? For rabies-free countries and expert consulting, fewer restrictions are for dogs from rabies-free countries. And if you're a first-time importer, consult with us, get the handbook, learn from it, and it's a very comprehensive. It's in depth. And then if you still have questions, please reach out. We are more than happy to help. Thank you so much for attending Phoenix Global's live